testimonial that I found while I was looking at stuff for this presentation, and this was in 2005. And it says, thanks for teaching me how to trade. Your strategies have definitely given me the knowledge to trade CFDs with confidence. In the past 3 months, I've turned $6,000 into $50,000 in cash flow. Who's impressed? This is where you go, ooh. Okay. Yeah. Is this person over here, or is they over there? They're over there, aren't they? This is a real person. They're over there. They've learnt what to do. They've gone out and done that. And some of the people in this room know this person, including me. And this is the guy I was talking about earlier on the oil rig with a wife who's epileptic. Okay? Every time he went, he thought his wife might die from a massive seizure. One day on the oil rig, he's on a boat that's attached to a pole. So there's a pole going up and the boat attaches to the pole. He went through an actual cyclone that if that pole broke, the whole boat went down and everybody's dead. Is that stressful? And apart from a couple of guys that risked their lives to save everybody else, they would have been dead. He had a nervous breakdown, he had all sorts of stuff. Just before this, what's that, 2005? 2006? Just after this, sorry. He was in the hospital. He went to hospital because he had some stomach pains and everything else. They did a colonoscopy. What do you know what I mean? That thing. I'm not going to explain it to you or give you graphic pictures of it. But whilst they were there looking for something else, they found a small cancerous tumour in his bowel. He had to have a bowel resection. Now he's got 2 belly buttons. They didn't line them up properly. So I call man with 2 belly buttons. That happened. Multiple things have happened. This guy, to him, during his life. His wife's broken more wrists and ribs and all that sort of stuff from having epileptic fits, falling down, nearly died several times. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on medicals for his wife and everything else. She's got some of her brain cut out in one of those operations because she would die basically if she didn't have that. There's so many challenges he's had on his journey. And yet his journey was to be here, wasn't it? There was no backstop. He had to do this because he had to look after his wife and his family. He couldn't work and do that. He had to trade full-time and make money. Yeah? There was no get-out clause for him. And a couple of years ago, he was trying to get to here and he sent me an SMS because he couldn't make it because of his wife's illness and everything else. And I'm going to read the SMS to you. Some of the people heard it in the room on the same night like this, 3 years ago. Where is it? Here it is. Can you come up here? What's your name? Erica. Come on up. Same guy?
Yep.
Can you read that?
Yep.
Okay, can you read this says 2011. You might not be able to see it, it's pretty tiny.
Yeah. Mate,
Yeah?
I love you guys and what you have opened my eyes to. I'm crying right now, but all I hope for is that you and Lee have some fantastic kids. You have no idea how much I will miss you guys this weekend. Send my greetings to all, please. Love you guys heaps. John Gow.
Okay, now read the next bit.
Trading is easy once you know how. Make sure you tell that to them, please.
What's the one at the top there?
Oh, and by the way, by the way, I've just made 23 grand yesterday, which breaks my record. Yay. Can we read more?
Okay, don't go away. She's great, wasn't she? If you could ask him one question, what would it be?
What does it feel like?
What does it feel like? John, you want to come up? Ask him. Before he answers the question, I'm going to say to you, if you were John and you're standing here, knowing the story I've just told you, and there's a lot worse. If you sit with John, he'll tell you nobody would want his life. Who would want John's life for the last 8-10 years? Who would want it? Not one person in the room. But who wants to trade like that? So you want what he's got. But he had the roadblocks in his road, and that's the important thing, is he didn't stop. He just did what he had to do. Now, this is the most humble man you're ever going to meet, and for those people who've actually met him before, you'll know that, and when he speaks. But I'm not getting John up here to, give him the pat on, embarrass him or anything else. But to me it's about getting to where you want to be. And when you meet John, you'll know that it is possible for you, because he did it with all of that stuff happening along the way. Who would have given up? Yeah? Sometimes we give up just before we get there, don't we? Don't give up. Do you want to answer the question? What does it feel like?
What does it feel like? Having total control of your life when you haven't got total control of your life. Being able to take your wife on holidays, family.
Tell them about your trip to New Zealand.
Um,
Sorry, but I'll preface it first before he speaks. I'd just been to New Zealand skiing, right? And,
broke your shoulder.
well, not, that was before.
Oh,
that was
okay.
the trip before, been skiing. And John had never seen the show, Snow, because he's from Queensland. Well, that's probably not why you haven't seen the show, you've just never been. And I said, oh, I'm in Queenstown skiing, blah, 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 and he wanted to go skiing. So that was, and then, 2 weeks later you were there?
Yep. 2008, my wife was going to have a brain surgery in May. So in January, February, we went to New Zealand. I had some trades going, CFDs, and I was comfortable in leaving them on. After a couple of days we're in New Zealand, I pulled the laptop out, looked at your trades. They'd all done exactly what they were supposed to do. I made $12,000. All I did, I knew where my stops and lost stops were. I just didn't want to worry about them anymore. Closed them out, made $12,000. Holiday cost 10, so I went home with a $2,000 profit. And had a bloody good time.
And he rings me up going, mate, just made 12 grand, pay for my holiday, that.
I made more money trading when I was going on holidays with the family because I wasn't worried about what the stocks were doing. I took myself out of the situation or the temptation of sitting down and watching them all day, apart from looking after my wife.
Can I say anything else before I bring everybody else up?
No, bring them up, please.
Bring them up. Okay, and I'm going to introduce 3 more people to you. Okay, 3 more. They're all different. Okay, Blake, can you bring those chairs up? I'll just stand over here. So I'm going to bring up 3 more guys. Ross and Mark, can you come up? And where's Ray? Ray's at the front. Do you want to come up? You can come up first because you're closer. Ray's retired, and I remember Ray's. Is anybody here sceptical in the room? You're a skeptic, normal? I guarantee you nowhere near Ray, right? Ray was pretty sceptical, and he'll probably tell you about it. But with Ray, he had been in the British and Australian military, and he was retiring, and he just wanted to supplement his pension. That's what he does. So he's done our diploma course, and that's all he's done at the moment. He's done our diploma course, and he's been trading for a few years and doing quite well, but he'll tell you what he's been doing. The gentleman next to him, Ross, I've known for longer than we've been Wealth Within, and we're not admitting to that. Ross is also retired. Ross basically was trading options, writing options and making really good income out of writing options and everything else. Now he does some CFD strategies with his options, but basically both of those guys are retired. Ray doesn't do with leverage at all. He just buys shares for them to go up and sells. That's all he does. You could do that, couldn't you? Yeah. Ross uses options in writing options, so that's not leveraging, but that brings income streams coming in. He gets quite a good income stream from that, but he also does some other strategies as well. Mark's a different kind of person again. Mark's the kind of person, if I said to you what a trader is, you'd probably describe Mark, yeah, Mark? Yeah, you'd probably describe him. He's got multiple screens and he day trades and intraday trades and everything else, and he trades a lot, okay? So he's a different person. So I was saying to Mark the other day, like Mark would have more trades in 6 months than John would have in 5 years. But they're just different types of traders. Doesn't mean Mark's better or worse than John, or what John does is right and Mark's wrong. It's a different trader. But Mark's more of a day trader, a very short-term trader. John's much more of a position trader. So I've got 4 different styles of people on this stage for you to ask questions of. Because you may be one of these people, yeah? You may want to walk on this journey from where you are today to where you want to be. So you may want to be a Ray, or you may want to be a Ross, or you may want to be a Mark, or you may want to be John. Who'd want to be one of them? Can you see somebody that might suit your style? Yeah. So now it's up to you. You can ask them any question you like, as long as it's safe and it's not rude. Okay. Anybody got any questions?
When I retired, I planned to retire. I knew that I was going to use shares as my income, and I initially started out using high dividend, middle caps to provide a base for the super fund, and trading covered calls, which is what I still do to this day, only in a little more sophisticated form, to provide the bulk income. But I also did something which, looking back, was very smart. I gave myself 5% of my money and said, you are going to play with this and try out various other things. And for instance, I started buying options and selling options, buying options and selling options. And about the fifth trade, I bought Wesfarmers puts. I had 8,000 of them at 62 cents. I still remember this trade with great clarity because it was the last trade I ever did trading options as a direct trade, buy it, sell it later type. Why? Because it didn't suit me. I just hated the fact that what happened was within 3 days they'd gone to 80 cents and that would have been $1,200 profit in 3 days on a $5,000 upfront thing. I thought, beauty, sell them, Mr. Broker. Nobody wanted to buy the bloody things. So here I am with 8,000 options and time is ticking away and it's got to be 3 weeks later and they're not much different in price. I'm thinking, oh bugger it, I'll have to sell them and take the loss on the brokerage. And then Wesfarmers dropped $3 in a day. Broker rings up and says, yeah, things are now worth $2.12. I said, beauty, sell them, Dennis. Dennis says, no, they'll be worth more tomorrow. I said, Dennis, after last time,
Out.
get me out. So anyway, a little later I look on my mobile and here's a number I don't know, so I ring it up. It happens to be Dennis's personal mobile in his car as he's driving home. He says, oh, you're going to be upset? I said, oh. Yes, he said, I sold them for $2.80. So my little trade for $5,000 that I would have been happy to get $1,200 for made me $17,200. And I never traded them again because it didn't suit me. And one thing I would say to any of you here is you need to, I think it's smart to take a small amount of your capital and play with everything and find the things that don't suit you. He probably say, beauty, that's exactly what I do all day, but it didn't suit me. So what was the point of trying to force myself into something I didn't enjoy? And the other small comment I'd make is trading can be very boring. It's really sick to take out $10,000 and $12,000 a month with sort of $70,000 or $80,000 at risk up front for a margin. That's really boring. It takes me 3.5 hours a month. Very boring. When I finally sell in the house where I'm at, I might start looking at, I don't know, $1,000 a day, maybe more income. But that's because I started too many years ago and I've built up. I now know what resonates with me and I feel comfortable with and what doesn't, and I don't do it. That's the way it is.
Yeah, don't be incongruent with who you are as a trader.
Yeah,
I think that's the point.
There's no point.
Because I know Ray's gone through that a little bit, haven't you? Because Ray's much more of a medium-term trader, but with the GFC and all the fluctuations, it's been a little bit different for you, hasn't it?
That's right.
Because you started trying to trade in a little area where you weren't as comfortable.
That's right, yeah. As I said, I was the biggest sceptic. There's no sceptic in this room as big as I was when I started. About as far as...
Is that because you're Scottish?
That's a bonus, isn't it?
He'll hit me later, right?
Yeah, an Irishman will hit you for that.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I was... if I was a trader of any description at all, it was fundamental. And I really viewed technical trading with with hooded eyes and a lot of scepticism. But Dale really, or at least the course, certainly opened up my eyes and to what was possible. 15 years ago, I was an accidental trader when I started getting shares from all these mutual companies that went public, and I got shares because I was a policy holder or whatever. So that kind of got my interest going, but I didn't know what to do, apart from read a few books and magazines that were out of date, as Janine referred to earlier. So I didn't really know what I was good at. One of the things I did was start a managed fund. I thought that's a smart thing to do. Start a managed fund, put some money in every month, and let somebody else look after my money for me as I approach retirement. After being in that fund for 7 years, the value of the fund was worth about 75% of what I'd put in over that time. So I cut my losses and got out of that one. I bought another fund that was a tradable fund. Similar thing happened. I got out of that with a 15% loss. That was when I decided I'm not letting anyone look after my money, I'm looking after it myself. Messing about a little bit with different ways of trading, I found that I was comfortable in the medium term, trading shares directly, not using leverage. I was very uncomfortable, I remain uncomfortable with leverage. That's not to say that I won't do it at some point in the future, but I didn't want to go into leverage without doing a lot of study, for example, a CFD course, before I actually dipped my toe in the water. So when I finished Module 3 of the diploma, which was just a few months after my first Art of Trading weekend, that was my epiphany moment when I understood trendline trading to at least to some extent, and I was very comfortable with that, and that led me to really like the medium term position trading, which worked well for me in my first year. Then we had a bit of a downturn in 2011, and my medium-term positions just weren't happening, and I decided to go into a shorter-term, still, I guess, position trading, not day trading at all by any means, but certainly a lot shorter, to try and take advantage of the fluctuations. And that worked very well for me, and I had a very successful year. So two things I'll take out of that, or leave with you out of it, is one is find where you feel comfortable, and for me that's medium-term trendline trading as a basic rule, and the second thing is be flexible and open to other opportunities, and that's what I did with going into the more shorter-term trades that I did. In the previous financial year, not this one, last financial year, I probably turned over about 5 times as many trades as I have this financial year, because I was trading in a much shorter term, and it was very successful for me at the time. So just had to be flexible, I think, and open.
Do you want to make a comment, Mark? Because I know that's stuff that we've talked a bit about as well, about finding your style.
Definitely. In response to the gentleman's question over there, I think it's important as a trader to find what suits you, what's a good fit for you. What works for me may not suit other people due to your lifestyle, your risk tolerance, whatever the case may be. But I think it's essential that you at least put your toe in the water with something, small risk, so that what you can do is you can find out what sort of trader you are. I'm still trying to find what suits me. I love every aspect of trading. I've immersed myself in it. I've made a commitment to it. I have my goals that I've, chunked down to where I'm at. And the first goal was to educate myself. Without the education, I was just flying blind. And I guess my only regret was that I didn't do some of the courses a lot earlier. I could have saved myself, 10 times the course value. So I'm not just saying this because I'm up here. What the course did for me was bring everything together that I had learned. And I was one of the people that Dale describes that went to every free seminar, everything you could possibly find. But along the journey, I did do a lot of other, a lot of other good education, but it was nowhere near complete. So what it did for me was bring everything together. Once I had that knowledge, then it was the application of that knowledge that I then had to work on. It's no different to a doctor after 6 years. Do you want to be the first person that he operates on? Well, no. So you need, time in the markets as well. And if you can, once you've got the knowledge, you've then got to apply that, and then you will find what resonates with you. I mean, yes, I love trading short term. I love the buzz. I love the thrill of it. But on the other hand, too, it gets your heart racing. You've got to do your breathing I've got to do my prep beforehand, and I'll try and limit that to 2 to 3 days a week. I've got a couple of friends here that trade futures with me. They know what it's like as well. It's very, very full on. You don't get your time to do your analysis. Trading weekly charts, 40 minutes it will take me to analyse a chart, then to realise that no, I don't want to actually be in this. So it's good to have that mix, but essentially my goal is only to trade 2 or 3 days a week and really ramp up the risk on each of those trades as John does, so that I only need to trade that small amount of time.
Not risk, exposure.
Exposure. And
When you've got an 80% chance that you know that you're getting into a stock, an 80% chance that that stock's going to go the way you want it to go, are you going to trade it? So that's sort of where I'm at. That email, that SMS I sent Dale in 2011, my wife was going into nursing home for 2 weeks just to give me a break. And that first week when she was away, I just analysed the stocks, the markets that I'd like to trade. I do trade currencies, gold, silver, and I do feel comfortable trading gold and the euro US together. And that's what I made off one night. That was one night trade. And I don't trade one day trades, one night trades usually. It's just that I got into that trade, it triggered my entries, and I just had enough exposure on that gave me that great profit. Yes, the whole package.
That's to bring your percentage up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's part of what we talked about. Remember we talked about they have a system. They know the outcome at the other end of it. That's all part of it. That's where John mentions 80%. When you're learning, and to me, when you're learning and trying to get that experience, it's not about making money on any one trade. It's about getting the experience to become the trader, which is exactly what Mark was going about. Just start off small and do it, because the more you do it, the more you get comfortable with it, yeah? Whether you're winning or losing, you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and then eventually the numbers get bigger, don't they? So Ross had that, I know this is going to happen. That's the point, because he'd done it hundreds or thousands of times, and he'd done all the back testing, he'd done all the work,
And it was-
so he knew.
even with the wedge itself, if it popped up to the wedge, it was going to make $40. So that would have made a profit anyway.
Mm. Yeah.
Except I'd have been worried that it flew through.
Yeah. So
You know, so it was the thing to try.
that's an interesting one, isn't it? It's almost about how you find the market you want to trade.
How long's a piece of string?
Yeah.
Look, I spend on my living income, I spend about 2.5 hours a month, and then I watch just to see how it's going every day, right? And I know pretty well what it will look like during the month. Start off, it looks like I'm losing. The further it goes towards the end, all the money comes in. So, you know, the first day or two, I might look as though I'm losing $2,000, and the end of the month I'm $12,000 up. But that's because I know what I'm seeing and what's happening. You might get worried about it if you're a beginning trader. I don't.
You're seeing some of the stuff we talked about in the slides with these guys? These are the, if you just said put their name on the front of it, this is these guys. What the DNA of these guys is exactly what we're talking about. They know what they're doing, they've got the strategy, they've done the work, they've walked the hard yards, they know how to take losses, they do everything.
I realised when I was doing the diploma 3.5 years ago that I actually didn't have a clue how to trade. Even though I had been trading for about 10 years, it was very patchy. It was there were very few trades, and they're all by guess and by gosh. And I didn't realise until the end of Module 3 what I didn't know. And at the end of Module 3, I knew what I did know, which was Module 1, 2 and 3, and I knew how to trade trend lines reasonably well, but I also realised that there was one heck of a lot that I didn't know. So I don't think I'm a good trader yet, and I've got plenty of work to do over the years to come. I need to spend more time doing what I do, and that is all about life balance. And sometimes you will have periods, as John has described, where what happens in your family is going to be far more important than anything else, and trading takes a back seat. And I have to admit that's been the case for me for the last 12 months. I've traded reasonably successfully in the sense that I've made the target, my base target for the year, but I haven't traded well this year, and that is because I didn't put the time in. You do need to put the time in. Dale spoke about that earlier. You have to do the work and up front, and whether you end up doing just position trading on equities like I do, or something a little bit more exotic as the rest of the guys do, then it doesn't matter. You just have to put in the time, and you'll become better. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think many of us will regard ourselves as really good until we've been doing it for a very long time, and I don't think I'm there yet.
So we'll just grab it. Yeah.
Perhaps to follow on from Ray's comment too, trading is a process. You've got to focus on the process of trading, and what I try and do is focus on the process of good execution. Even if I'm having a bad day, I might put a lesser risk trade on, but to me the outcome and nailing that outcome is more important than the amount of money on, because after a while, once you've nailed the process and the execution becomes as good as you can get it, the money will just come in. That's a byproduct of doing your job properly. Now, at the end of the day too, if you're serious about trading, you're going to pay for, you will pay for your education one way or another, okay? Now, mine's probably cost 10 times what it should have, because perhaps I'm a slow learner, whatever the case may be, but we're going to pay for it no matter what. If you can shortcut that process, without a doubt. But to answer the gentleman's question here, before I get to yours, it's like anything, playing the guitar or something, you get better and better every day, but you've got to make a start somewhere. But one thing I must add too, the smaller the time frame you get, the noisier it gets, okay? Even down to day trading now. I see a lot of the massaging and the manipulation and the algorithms that go on with stocks during the day. And whether you believe it or not, prices are manipulated and massaged, whatever you want, stop hunting, that all occurs. So the way around that is to use your end of day. But if I'm trading a 1 minute chart on the DAX, let's say, my next time frame will be a 5 minute chart, which will give me a guide as to what I'm looking at, my pattern. But my momentum is based on a 15 minute and a 60 minute, and also perhaps a 240. 240 is probably getting a little too high daily, anything like that. But when you get down that small, it is very, very noisy. And you've got to be, your psychology has got to be spot on. You don't want to take 3 or 4 losers in a row because you've just dusted $1,000. You've got to get up and the next day and do the same again. So it takes a bit to sort of get to that, but it's the next time frame up. But patterns appear on a 1 minute chart. I've traded, Elliott wave patterns right down on a 1 minute on a DAX chart. Comes out of a downtrend, it falls out of a rising wedge or whatever, an ending pattern. Sure enough, it paints 5 waves up. The 4th wave was a flag. I think the guys have seen a couple of examples. A bit of trapped order flow that pushed it back up. Bang, I was in. And those are the patterns that I've learned and got confidence in spotting. And when you do, you just step up and you just place the trade, But intraday, I try not to trade intraday because I want to have a life, basically. But day trades, my average daily trade is 14 days, which is not bad. Some trades are over and done within 2-3 hours. If I bought it on a gap, a gap up and it's painted, 6-8%, and I've got a 3% risk, that's enough. I'm out because chances are it'll fall back later on. Others, no, they might take 30 days to finally dribble around and hit their stop, whatever the case may be. But if it's a trade that I've based on a daily entry,
It will be a weekly time frame which will be giving my momentum, and it will be based off a monthly, weekly, a swing chart, that sort of thing. But it's always the higher time frame that gives it the momentum, and that was my problem before I did, some decent education. Was my thinking was too narrow. I didn't see the big picture. I hadn't spotted that. So definitely, without a doubt, a lot of the reason that I will zoom into a day chart is to keep my risks small. Probably slightly different, but I want to get a psychological stop where I know the sellers have taken if I'm going long, sellers have taken over, and it's the thing's over. It's failed or it's over, and you just move on. Okay, that didn't work. You just move on. Different if haven't followed my plan, then I need to go into my lessons learned journal, that sort of thing. But fine tune it on the daily to give me a smaller risk, and then it increases my risk to reward. But a lot of the programs now, the platforms now, have got alerts. So if you get to a certain level, or if you're waiting for price to break a certain level, it will alert you. Otherwise, you just cannot watch that many. And look, trading off 7 screens is too much at times. 1 to 2. When I trade futures, as John will know, I like to watch gold and a few of the others to see where the correlations are coming from, and have those time frames that I mentioned, the 60, 15, 5 on one screen, so that I can, but I'll be watching those on the side, but trading off 2 main charts. The shorter time frame trades, no, weeklies in that, they're too big. The biggest one would be 60 minute or 240. And what I'm looking for is a pattern that I recognise. It may be a pennant or something, and it's gone into a consolidation or a distribution pattern. I'm waiting for this thing to make its move, and I want to be there when it's making its move. I want to follow the smart money or follow the big money. Once it's made its move, because you're trading smaller time frames, you've got to wait, you've got to watch for the failed breaks, the fake outs, all that sort of thing. So you've got to see that the thing's committed to the move, and there's buying pressure or selling pressure behind that via your volume trades and your volume analysis.
Top-down analysis, as Mark is what all of these guys are talking about. It's the same thing, isn't it? They just do things the same, but they're different types of markets and different ways they trade. It's the same thing. Often we get people doing the diploma saying, well, how does this work with short-term trading, right? Because we're teaching more medium-term trading, because that's a little bit easier to get. But every single thing that we talk about in the diploma, you can do down to the 10 seconds or 1 second or 2 seconds. It's the same stuff.
If you want to spend all day in front of the computer.
Very, very noisy and very testing.
So it's just chunking it down. It is. It's the same thing. It's top down. Mark's top down. It's just different. Same process, going to a larger time frame and shrinking it down to a smaller time frame. Whereas John will go monthly then weekly. Just different. Same process though. It's just different markets, different leverage, different everything else. So yeah, you were next one, weren't you? You were the next one. No, you were the next one. My book.
Beat the managed funds by
20%, yeah.
30% now.
Oh, he's got a managed fund now. He's going to be really interested beating himself. I've read heaps. I've read everything. I read Robert Prechter and the day traders and all the rest of it. But the thing that really changed my life was one of the oppositions, one of those little seminars. A guy said to me, I rent my shares. And I went, what? And he was describing covered calls. And as many people will tell you, I'm boring about covered calls because they're so damn good. And a lot of people just don't realise what wonderful things they are to generate an income while your trade's happening. So if you have a nice upward trade and you keep being willing to have a small return instead of the bigger return, it's highly unlikely you'll get taken out. So you'll have the shares the next time and you simply set them higher and higher and higher and higher while your trade's happening, and you get a nice little income along the side. And let me tell you, a lot of people just don't understand the power of the multiple things. For instance, if you get 1.5% in a month, how much, if you allow it to keep growing, will you finish up with in a year? Anyone think they know? I think I'm right, it's 24.5%. And if you said that at the beginning of the year, you'd be very, very happy. So you know, that changed my life. I was looking at 5 to 7%, and then I'd have to trade and blah 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 blah. Whereas the truth is, my average return on covered calls before the GFC would have been around 35% per annum, something like that. And that was, I was using lots of money. And unfortunately for me, I had a problem with my wife got ovarian cancer in 2008, and I shut down and didn't shut down my shares, and so I lost a lot of money, but that's, you know, neither here nor there. But the bottom line was that, you know, I knew it was successful, and after she passed away and I'd grieved for a while, I decided I had to do something, and guess where I went? Straight back to covered calls, only I found an even better way of doing them now.
So you get the point?
Yeah.
So that's why part of the reason why you've got those ASX bags is because I knew Ross was going to be here, and part of it. So when I spoke to the head of education, I said I need some bags, and he supplied them last year, but because we've got a great relationship with him. But I asked him for the options and warrants book that's actually sitting in your bag right now, and that's free information from the ASX, and the ASX has free education on how to do what Ross is doing. Free. And it's really good stuff. So you can go there, click on their education tab, writing options, and it's in the book or on their website for free. How many of you are going to go and do it? Yeah, a few of you. But the thing is, that's the way they trade. But as I said to you, they're all different, aren't they? Yep. And they're all got a process. But they're all humble. They all know what they're doing, and they're all confident that they can do it. And that's why I've got these guys up here, because they're all different. But hopefully they're transferring some of that belief to you. Is it working? Yeah. And they've all said keep it simple. Yeah. So the next question was yours.
I've got to be in the top 30 stocks because I won't get options, a reasonable range of options, unless I'm in the top 30 stocks. So I don't worry too much about, you know, K&S Freighters or whatever, which is a good company, very good company in fact, but the bottom line is for covered calls it's a waste of time, because they won't have options. And the other thing too is, like anything else, a bit like Dale's taught you with anything to do with shares, you don't trade stocks that don't have good turnover. Same thing with options. You look, you check, have they got good turnover? If they haven't, forget it. Because you can't sell it. You can't sell it if you need to, and also you'll get very little action.
It's about narrowing your focus. And guys have talked about what are they comfortable with. And you'll find it's about focusing on what you're comfortable with. So that might be top 30s, top 50, top 100, whatever it is. But often the traders that aren't successful, they're trying to shoot shotgun pellets out everywhere, trying to get something, right? And so they're standing there going, oh, I missed that, so I'll go over there. I've missed that, I'll go over there. Whereas these guys are stalkers. That's what they do. They stalk the market. Like Ross said, he spent... Well, they are. Yeah, with this, I didn't say you were flashers. I said you were stalkers. So,
Didn't some guy go to jail today for that?
well, probably, yeah, stalking. But you can see what they do. Like Ross took 2-3 months on that one trade that he made $30,000 on. If you could spend 2 to 3 months, 4 times a year, to find 4 trades to make you $37,000, would you do that? Yeah. But not always about trading every day or anything else. That was his style. Now, he's not going to get that every single 3 months necessarily. But the thing is, the probabilities are there. To me, trading is about trading well, not necessarily often. That's how I work. And when the trades are there, you take them, and when they're not there, you don't take them. But it's keeping that focus on and not trying to chase the market, because it's like chasing girls at a pub. You know, it's like, oh, geez, what am I doing? Where am I going? And you miss the good-looking girl that's right there in front of you that's the best one. We know that, don't we, guys? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We spend so much time looking somewhere else, we're missing what's in front of us. So I've got this gentleman over there first, and then I'll get you guys.
When I was doing it as straight ones, not using CFDs, which is what I'm doing at the moment, I was all in Australia. I was working with companies that I knew what they did, and when whether I thought they were substantial. Because the one thing that hurts you, the one thing that hurts you in covered calls in Australia is if the stock goes down in value, because as soon as it loses value, it takes away from your income. Now, what I'm doing at the moment is a is done in the US market because the options over there, they don't have CFDs. Therefore, they've got a huge option market, and you can get options that are up to 7, 8, 10, 12% away from their current share price, which would be completely useless if you tried to buy the share and then do the option, because you get 30 cents premium for a $50 share. But if you buy CFDs and you are controlling 20 shares, your 30 cents becomes $6. $6 versus 50, less expenses, might pay you 8% for the month. That becomes very worth doing. Look, I don't like trading CFDs. I'm useless at it. I lost lots of money at it. I've tried it twice. That's it. No, but not going to bother anymore.
We need to go for lunch again.
You know, but for I do both. I do, but naked puts and naked calls. But again, I have that inbuilt 10% margin in the States, which I can't get here. You know, I wouldn't write naked puts and calls in Australia. You've only got about 2 or 3%, and it's too twitchy for me. I want to be able to go, put it on, and walk away for the month. That's my style of trading. I'm not like it's Nibs here. I actually use a broker called IG, but that's the CFD side of things. All right, you could do it using 2 brokers, one to do the CFDs, one to do the others if you wanted to.
The broker's really irrelevant, it's how you trade it.
Yeah.
The broker's just providing access to the market.
Yeah.
So you choose the broker that suits you best, really.
The benefit I have with the one I'm with is that I don't have to change money into US dollars and change back. It's all done in Australian dollars and settled at the end of the month. Anyway.
Your question?
When Dale yelled at me
Do you want to
in
tell
front
us,
of
or do you want
everyone,
me to tell it?
you go, you're better than me.
Okay. After the oil rig disaster type thing where he nearly died and everything else and that sort of stuff, I was actually in Brisbane doing a seminar, which I used to call Seeds of Wealth, which is...
Well, I used to fly down to Melbourne. Well, I come off the rig, fly down to Melbourne or Sydney, whenever they used to have monthly meetings. As soon as I knew the date, I'd just jump on a plane and come straight down.
Commitment. See? As I said, I was in Brisbane doing this seminar, and John happened to be there and a few other students, and somebody was asking me a question about our education. I said, if you want to know about me, ask my students. Who's my student? Put their hand up. So about half a dozen people did, and John was standing up the back. I said, if you want to know about me, talk about that. If you want to understand, you know, if you can trade and talk to a trader, talk to John at the break. And I said, John, just have a, introduce yourself. And he said, oh, hi, I'm John. I'm a chef on an oil rig. And that was like a red rag to a bull to me, because he'd been trading full time for how many months?
Oh, a good 2 years.
Yeah. Right? So he hadn't made the psychological shift from being...
I was making more
chef.
money than working on the oil rig.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I said to him, John, I said, I don't want to ever hear that word out of your mouth again. You are a trader, and if you ever say that again, I'm going to smack you one. And he's never, ever said he's a chef ever again, because he knows I'd smack him one. But from my point of view up the front, I just saw this shift in his eyes, in his face, in his posture. It's like, yeah, I am the trader. And that's really what it's about, wasn't it? We talked about it. It's like, it's not an if come for John. It's there. It's not an if come from Mark or Ross, or Ray. They are people. Now they've got varying perceptions of where they are on their trading journey, because if they're standing over in that corner, they could be rating themselves 7 out of 10 right now, but compared to you, they may be a 20 out of 10, yeah? And it could be a 2 out of 10. But if they're standing over here, they can go, well, okay, well, I'm not as good as what I need to be, yet I'm only a 5 out of 10, and where's my journey going? And as Mark said, he's continually learning. John's continually learning. Ray and Ross continually learn. And they put the work and effort in. And it's not always hard work, but sometimes it's a lot of fun, but they continually do it. You can't just get rich from sitting on your backside watching TV 3 hours a night, can you?
And things change, as
And
you
things
pointed
change.
out. Years limited used to be 7-week cycle, it isn't anymore.
Yeah, things change. So, yeah, so question? Who'd be able to cope with that? 3 in a row. Would you think you're going wrong? I bet you they got a different answer.
As I said before, most of the times when I'm going into a trade, I'm roughly 80%, and I know that because I do back testing on my stuff. I use a lot of esoteric stuff in my trading, which I'm not going to go into here. It'll scare the hell out of you.
And it doesn't involve voodoo dolls.
No, it doesn't. But when there's a red light and things turn, you take notice. Now, if I've had 3 trades that I've entered and I've lost, how would I feel? Doesn't matter. If I don't take that next trade, okay, I've hit 3 trades, it's usually out of 10. So if I hit that 4th trade and I don't take it, and it goes in the way I want, I feel terrible because I haven't followed my trading plan. Stick with your plan. Sometimes the world's going to go against you. And they'll ask me, I don't know about that shit. You get kicked in the, just got to get back up, get back on it, and keep going. Because if you don't, you'll feel a hell of a lot worse. So if you can find a plan that you feel comfortable with, you'll know when you find the plan that works for you. That plan may not work for every stock or instrument that you're going to be wanting to trade. So you might have 2 trading plans. Well, what I found, I had the one trading plan, and I just found instruments or stocks that worked with my trading plan. Because I formulated a plan that I was comfortable with. You are going to have those times when the world's against you and the stocks are going to go against you. That's life. But just keep sticking with it. Sometimes you might get 4 go against you. But that 5th one, mate, as long as the stock that you're following is not tanking, it's just sort of, mate, it gives you the entry and then drops away. Comes back up, gives you the entry, drops away. Something's stopping it from keeping going down too much further, but keeps coming back up. Why? So maybe it's just the institutions playing with it. Lots of reasons. So
Sticking with your
at it.
strategy.
You'll find that after a while, individual stocks have, and same with currencies, commodities, they have their own personality because usually it's the traders out there that are trading that all the time. A lot of the stocks that I trade the same stocks over and over again because I know when it pulls back somewhere, 8 out of 10 times it's going to do this. So you jump on it and you nail it. I think it's important to, if it does go wrong, what's more important to is to analyse what did you do against what were you supposed to do. You know, if the trade was just wrong and it just didn't happen, it just didn't go for whatever reason, okay. But it's important to say to yourself, well, okay, was that part of my plan? And if it wasn't, why wasn't it? And make some sort of statement of correction for next time so you don't do the same thing again. Quite often you will do the same thing, but you just do it less and less every time. But, to stick with the higher end, I mean, I do like trading down lower because they're volatile, but I wouldn't risk as much. But you've got to be prepared for that. It might gap open 8%. Bang it straight through your stop. Okay, you've taken double the loss. You've got to be prepared for that so you don't load up like you would with just a nice one that goes along. That just your top 20, your top 200.
Yeah, they do.
Is your wife consistent?
You've got to realise that the same traders, same traders are trading these all the time. And I think one thing to note is that, you see, we're competing against all these guys that are trading 2 or 3 stocks, you see. So we've got to outsmart them and get in when they're starting to buy up. And in answer to the other chap's question over here too, you'll have times where you can do no wrong. After 2 days, you're running around with your T-shirt over your head, You've done well. The idea then is not to give it back towards the end of the week. Just stop and know your limit. And then there's other weeks where you think, man, I just can't do this, right? But you've just got to press on and press on. The way to get through that is to know your statistics, okay? Yep, I know I'm going to make 4 trades, and if necessary, When you get to your third one, back off a little bit so that then you can pull out of it. Otherwise, if you're continually trading the same size or loading up a little bit more, trying to get back where you are, then you're bringing more hope and more psychology into it. You're better off just to back off a little bit, get your head space right. Even before you pull the trigger, 3 deep breaths, walk around, come back. Does it still look the same? No, it doesn't. Okay. When in doubt, stay out.
Cool. Last question. That's playing to lose, isn't it? Really? If you know something's going to win, why wouldn't you stick with it? So yeah.
You start to doubt your plan, basically.
Correct. Yeah. It's
Well,
normal.
I think when you're like that, it's important to take a step back. No trading for 2 weeks. I want to get my head right. I don't have any children. That was a decision my wife and myself, so I don't have the other distractions that perhaps come in when you're trying to analyse. So I can, trade 10 hours. I don't trade 10 hours a day. I might trade 3 hours a day. The rest is analysing and study. But when you feel like that or things aren't right in your life, especially with short term, you've got to step back, right? And you've got to regroup, reassess where you're at, come back, and believe me, you'll come back fired up. Right? But otherwise, if you just keep doing it, you're just banging your head against a brick wall, and you'll just actually, in fact, make it worse. And that's when you make stupid decisions.
My suggestion is you've got a mentor, use them. I mean, really, you can say to them, this is my plan, this is what I've done, I've followed it as far as I can tell perfectly, and it's stuffing up. Can you see something that needs improvement, or something that an assumption I'm making that's it's not true or whatever? Use the people. They're there to help you.
Yeah, cool. And it's exactly the same what we said, these guys know they didn't do it on their own. So you're not on a desert island when you're a trader. You need to have support of eagles. Yeah? You don't want to be turkeys. You want to be with the eagles. So I want to thank the guys. Might shout for beer later, okay? Cool. Thanks, guys. But you see what I'm talking about the DNA of the trader, about where you are today. Can I guess it's not where you want to be? That means yes, that means no. Okay? If that's where you want to be, if you want to be like some of these guys up here, or all of them, or one of them, could you see yourself in one of these guys? Yeah. They're not rocket scientists, are they? Mark's almost, he's an engineer. Or was an engineer, sorry. But they're not rocket scientists, they're nice guys, they're humble, they're all of those things that we talked about on this. And, some of those guys, Ross will be around, I think, for most of the weekend, and John will be here all weekend. For the guys that are students, if you don't get in their face and talk to them about what they do, how are you ever going to get more out of what's in their head to help you understand where you need to go? It's your choice, isn't it? And we have people come to the weekend and don't get in my face or Janine's face and talk to us, because we're here to help, and these guys will spend time with you. Mark couldn't be here all weekend, and Ray's also here all weekend, so 3 of them are going to be here all weekend. So how lucky are you guys? Yeah, so use them, as well as all your coaches and everybody else that's here. For the guys that aren't students, I know there's some stuff in your pack like expressions of interest forms and things like that. I know there's a special or something. If you want to do the course, we've got a special for you to do that. So if you want to do the course, just fill it all out and hand it to the guys. If you want more information, fill it all out tonight. Make the decision tonight. If you think this is what you want to do, don't go home and then get stuck in work and family and all that sort of other issues, because it's going to be a long time, a long process. Because I asked the guys who have done our diploma course, who wished they had done it a lot earlier? Now look around at the hands if you're not a student of ours and you're thinking about it. Don't wait. Do something. Yeah, because it's your choice. Do you want to stay here, or do you want to move and be where these guys were and have some success? So whatever that is to you. So to me is don't go home and not do something for yourself. Does that make sense? And whether that's you doing our course or not, that's your choice, and I'm okay with all of that. But to me, it's about improving your life, and that's what we talked about in one of those last slides, is change your thinking because you're changing your life. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming, because I think you've been a fantastic group of people. You've had some really, really good questions, haven't you? Well, this is the first time I've done the Ask the Trader on the Friday night. Normally I reserve this only for the students and only for the Saturday. so that our students can get this, but I thought I'd open that up to everybody because has it helped everybody understand what you could do and how you could achieve that? Because that's my goal for the night was saying, well, it doesn't matter how old you are, because Ray and Ross were only about 21, and I get people that might be 50 or 45, I'm too old to learn, I'm too old to do this, or I'm 60-year-old saying I'm too old to learn. You're not too old, it's just about your thinking, isn't it? You're not too young, you're not too old, just go and do that. So thank you very much for sharing tonight, thank you very much for all your questions.